Hey everybody, this is Marley K. I'm coming to you today because I want to talk to you about the crime bill embedded in the infrastructure bill. So I haven't heard or seen anybody talking about this, which is crazy, but I'm gonna talk about it because that's what I do. I always, talk about the other things that are popular in the news sometimes because everybody else is talking about it. I feel like they are really doing a satisfactory job. So I don't really have anything to add, um, about what's going on with, different things in current news. But one of the things that I have really been concerned about, in which we all should be concerned about, are these quick bills that are coming out. Like all of a sudden, Democrats are able to work miracles. They parted water. They're turning, water into wine. Everybody's getting everything, and you don't really understand what is happening in the process. So, they'll say, "Hey, you're getting something, and you should be happy." And for me, that's always a red flag because if you're giving me something I didn't ask for, that means you really are doing something to harm me. And I need to figure out what it is. So immediately when they start coming out and they're stuttering and stammering, like Jim Clyburn was doing last week on the news, they were asking, so what's in the bill? What would you tell people who want to know what was in the bill? What would you say to people in South Carolina? And he was, he didn't really give you a good answer. That was a clear indication that it was some bullshit afoot. So, um, I unfortunately I did not read any of the bills before they were passed, which is bad. And shame on us for not looking prior to the bill passing and becoming law. Once it becomes law, it's too late to really complain about it. The only thing you could do is look out for what's coming because now it's law and it's coming down the pipe. So that's kind of how this infrastructure bill worked. Um, they've been going over it for months. They've had like 35, 36 revisions before it passed. And we did not, or we rely on the mainstream media and different entities to go through the bill and tell us what was in it that would be bad for us. Unfortunately, nobody identified the criminal justice aspects of the bill. And I did not look at the bill until it actually um, passed. So I looked at it. I started looking at it last week after the day it passed, and I just took my time and I went through it, and I was like, I have some stuff in here that's suspect. And then I started doing a search on the entire document, which is huge. It's a very long bill because it's got a lot of stuff in there. It's got a lot of money and a lot of set asides for specific communities, except for Black people. In particular, the tribal communities. The tribal communities are recognized throughout that bill. So, I advise you to take your time to go through it and look. If you don't want to read the whole thing, just, do a word search and look for tribal, look for law enforcement, look for, cyber security, look for surveillance, look for things that, um, the dominant society particularly does to us, or the tools that they use to harm us, and then you'll understand. But even if you're reading it, um, the way that the bill is written, and that's just how they always write them. They always write them in a way that gives appearance that they're not going to do any harm. They always present the legislation like it is helping us. And so that's how this particular legislation is also presented. It's like, we're going to stop you from having an increased rate of driving under the influence in your community. Based on what? Who said we needed that? Is there any evidence that there's an increase in drunk driving incidents. We've been in the house for about 2 years, long lockdown. Um, and even though outside is open back up, it's not open back up that much. So we have to really be careful about overlooking the language that the dominant society uses to make the poison sound and taste sweet, because it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go over, a couple of things that I pointed out, but there's a lot of stuff in that bill that's going to be coming to your communities now, in the form of grants, formula grants to states, going to be Department of Transportation and probably your state criminal justice entities will be distributing money for some of these programs. So I'm going to just talk about the two that stuck out to me. And, please feel free to leave your comments. Don't forget to like, share the page. Make sure you warn people in your community, get them to watch this video, get them to read this piece. I'll put the piece in the description. On YouTube, I'll make sure I put the link for my followers so that you can read it. It's not won't be behind a paywall. And the bill is free to read. You can go to congress.gov. I also put the link to that in the description so that you can go directly there and have a link to go look at the bill. Do a Control F, find the stuff in the bill that's gonna screw Black people. And understand it's law now, so we can't do anything about it except for complain to your congressional representatives, so that when these secretaries sit down and write the solicitations for these opportunities, they have language in there that prevents police and criminal justice systems from targeting our communities. Or just have the discussion about why this is needed now, because there's no evidence. And that's kind of what I'm talking about in my piece. So let me share my screen and see. All right, so the name of this piece is The Infrastructure Bill Has a Crime Bill Embedded in It. Because that's exactly, what it is. And so my subtitle is just basically Democrats prove yet again why Black lives don't matter to them. Will Black folks finally get the message? And, the point of this piece is to show, as bad as they tell you to fear Republicans, they do the same stuff to us. And then nobody says anything about it. They hope you don't discover that they did it until the next election cycle, when you start feeling the impact of the police beating your ass, or the DUIs and the fines and all the different things that are happening in your local communities. They'll pretend like, oh, we didn't know. And you go look back at the bill, everybody supported it. So, it's really important that we pay attention over the next 3 years to see what type of legislation they're going to be pushing and what types of bills that they're going to be passing. Anything that's major, we need to be screening it before it gets passed, because if not, then what happens is we will end up like we are with the infrastructure bill. We got this shit bill, a crime bill stuck in it, and we can't do anything about it. So let's get into it. So, the thing that I want to drive home is that the Democratic Party is being uber disrespectful to us. And I'm not, it's not a figment of our imagination. They're really excluding us and being disrespectful. And I talked earlier about them moving on, trying to basically exterminate the Black people and make us basically not have any power or any sway in this country. And so this is just a part of that plan. It's a multi-pronged plan, so you can't get focused on one thing. It's not just about voting. It's not just about criminal justice. It's not just about education. It's not just about labor. It's a lot of areas that we're having to come to terms with in regards to how they are using those tools to oppress and basically annihilate us. So what we have to do is we have to be proactive. We have to read. We have to understand these bills, this legislation, and then make sure that you're letting people know in your immediate circle, hey, this is coming down the pipe. Because now all we have is word of mouth until that is taken away from us. And as long as I can, I'll read these bills and go through and try to teach you stuff. But there's a time coming where we're going to be censored. We're not going to be able to communicate like this. It's coming really soon. And so, you have to understand all these platforms that we use are owned by white people. We don't really have a lot of platforms. And like I have signed up for a couple, but we don't use them. So what I'm going to encourage Black people to do who follow me and who follow some of the other people in the new Black media is sign up for some of these Black-owned, Black-operated social media sites, because especially if they screen us, like if they want information, to make sure the people that are participating are Black, because we don't really have any control over censorship right now. Like this information that I created on Medium, like it doesn't hardly have any attention. Like it's only, I posted it like 4 days ago, doesn't hardly have any claps, hardly any comments, because these social media sites suppress that type of information, for one. And number two, people don't like to read. They will watch me talk about this and I could tell you some of it, but I may tell you something that, while it may be good, it may not necessarily be relative to you, your community, and your household. But there's something in that bill that could kill you that I'm not talking about. And so it is imperative that Black people start reading, read science and technology, blogs and online sources. Read stuff that's not in the mainstream media, because there's so much stuff happening that like I can't even really talk to you all about, because I'm still, I feel like I'm baby spoon feeding you political stuff that we should have already mastered, 20, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And so we're just walking around in circles right now. We have got to get to a point where we can comprehend and process information faster. We don't have to trust each other more, and we don't have to move quickly, because I'm gonna tell y'all about this, but come next year, I'm gonna need y'all to start doing some new things, and we're gonna talk about it. But it's gonna basically becoming more self-reliant, because we're not going to be able to depend on this system. This system is not going to support, sustain, or defend us. They are going to try to exterminate us. And the few of us that are left, we're going to basically be serfs, slaves. We're still going to be at the bottom of the social hierarchy. So you have to adapt. You got to learn quickly. You're going to have to make some changes. And I know a lot of us don't like to change. We don't like to adapt to change, but things are going to change really fast over the next couple of months, and probably within the next 2 years, because of this great reset that's happening. And it's a global reset. It's not just in America, it's everywhere. So you got to pay attention to what's happening, not just in America, not just on our TV. You have to look at what's happening around the globe. It's all connected. So let me get into this piece. So if you can see here, one of the key points I want to bring out here is that with this criminal justice bill embedded in this infrastructure bill, basically locking us up, fining us, keeping us in contact with the criminal justice system keeps white people employed. And so I say everything you get in this country comes at the expense of Black people, and it does. Black people will be helping to pay for your infrastructure in part via some of the criminal justice sections of the bill. The money collected from our interactions with police keeps local, city, county, and state governments funded. So when you get this money and you start seeing these police and these new police cars and this new surveillance technology and DUI checkpoints and all the stuff that they're planning, it's not going away because they're gonna get you. They're gonna lock you up. They are going to fine you, and they're going to make sure they do it to a level so that they make sure that the people that they hire, mostly white males, will be gainfully employed, and you're going to be poorer. So just putting it out there. Um, when we have events, they're gonna have roadblocks. They're gonna, do DUI checkpoints and hope you get out and run. They're gonna hope you dirty. They're gonna hope you intoxicated. They're gonna hope you high, even if you got legal weed and you got a prescription for it. Like, they have a lot of ways to make sure, they're gonna lock you up and they may drop the charges, but they're still gonna charge you to get out of jail if they drop the charges. So you're gonna have to pay money to get out. So it's this whole big scheme that, we typically don't think about as part of maintaining this system, but that's a way to sustain white supremacy. You keep white judges, white prosecutors, white police, white probation officers. That whole system thrives because we overrepresent the criminal justice system. If it wasn't for us, those people wouldn't have jobs, and they're not about to lose their jobs. And in addition to, they mad at Biden because of this mandate. And a lot of them are basically anarchists now. So they're going to do whatever they can to try to coddle white supremacy and bring it back in order. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm just telling you, we are a part of the plan, whether you want to be a part of the plan or not. So, if you're drinking and driving, hey, I'm telling you, you're taking your own livelihood in your own hands. You know how expensive that is to get out of, DUIs in this crime bill. So if you do that, you ride dirty, if you ride intoxicated, you setting yourself up, dude. I'm just telling you, they already got it out here. So ladies, same thing. If you're gonna be out here riding, intoxicated, driving intoxicated, having stuff in your car, giving a reason, the police reason to suspect you're doing something and have a reason to pull you over, all of that is legal now. So contact with us is getting ready to start happening more frequently. So one of the things that I want to show you is where Biden said that he believed the police needed more money. And The Hill covered an article about it. I'm going to click on it so you can see the headline where it just talks about Joe Biden basically saying that he supported additional funding for the police. This was in August of 2020, prior to him being elected in November. So he said basically, let's see. I don't want to defund the police, Biden said. I want to get police more money in order to deal with the things they badly need for making sure they have access to community policing, that they have also in the departments, social workers, psychologists, people who in fact can handle those god awful problems that a cop has to have 4 degrees to handle. Basically, the motherfucker is saying that he does not think police can handle anything except for busting you upside your head, locking you up, and taking your money. So he's going to put other people in place to handle those god-awful things that people deal with, except for those god-awful things are not included in this infrastructure bill. And these god-awful job descriptions that he just noted, they're not in the bill either. So I just wanted to show you how Biden said this, and then he actually did it with the infrastructure bill. So it's not by accident that this money ended up here. He said this, and he gave his people money. So, you know, he's keeping his promises to people, just not to Black people. Another thing I want to talk about is, you remember when James Clyburn and Nancy Pelosi, some of the other Democrats were saying we needed to stop saying defund the police and abolish the police. Well, this is why, because they know out of sight, out of mind. If you quiet, you'll forget. And we have a tendency of not remembering the disrespect, not remembering our own movements, and letting our stuff get co-opted. And that's kind of what happened with abolish the police, or you know, Black Lives Matter. Everything we've done over the last couple of years has been hijacked by different groups associated with the Democratic Party. So that's why I say we're going to have to get away from slogans and chants, because they are easily co-opted, and it's actually a tactic that's created by white supremacy. So when you use it, you're actually using their tool. You can't beat them with their tools. So you're going to have to actually come out and be able to talk about what's in this bill, why it's bad for us, and get away from the slogans and the chants, because they don't it's too easy to assign the slogan or the chant to some other group. And because the meanings have changed so frequently now, you know, nobody knows what belongs to who. So, you know, when you talk about these things, make sure you're armed with actual, you know, thoughts and data and language from these bills, and compare it to data, national data or local data or whatever, so that you can have a strong argument. Because just arguing, you know, we said defund the police, but what does that mean? Nobody really knows now, because the waters are so muddy. Or abolish the police. Abolish what? Nobody, you know, people didn't want police abolished. We didn't like that language, but that's not our language. It's not street grassroots language. And so anytime you start dealing with other groups who can come in and change your language, then you have a problem. So we're not doing that this time, which is another reason I did this, because I want you to be able to have the language and have the evidence to be able to process what's happening. So the section of the bill that begins the crime bill is section 24104, high visibility enforcement programs. And this funding is for law enforcement activities for fiscal years 2022 through 2026. So whenever they pass the budget for this upcoming year, that's fiscal year 2022, and it will go to 2026, long after, if Biden is out of office, or if whoever comes in 2024, that funding is going to last till 2026, 2027. And then it says, in each fiscal year, 1% of the funds provided under this section shall be allocated among states. That means 1% of this money is going to go to states to meet requirements with respect to preventing roadside deaths. So I'm gonna tell you, that's fancy speak for speed traps. We all know what that is. Preventing roadside deaths just means more police patrolling the highways and streets, setting up speed traps. They're going to be hiding in bushes. They're going to have more of those little scanner radars. They're going to be scanning your tags. They're going to be scanning your speed. They're going to be on major highways. So that's what that means. So I don't want y'all to think, you know, they're really trying to prevent roadside deaths. They're really just setting up speed traps. That's all. That's how you prevent deaths. You stop people from speeding fast so they won't kill themselves. That's prevention. So also I want you to know that this money is going to be coming either through the Department of Justice or the U.S. Department of Transportation, and it'll be funneled through state formula grants. So when they say 1% will go to states, that's usually allocated through formula grants, which is money that goes directly from these state agencies to your, I'm sorry, from the federal government to state agencies. And then those state agencies distributes that money throughout the area. So you just kind of make sure you keep an eye on your state entities so you can find out if they're getting this money, how it's going to be distributed, who's getting it, and then whoever is getting that money is getting ready to get on your ass. So get right. All right. So what I want to make clear about this is that all monies allocated for all enforcement activities will be used in states for racially profiling Black drivers during suspicion traffic stops. And when I say suspicion, not suspicious, it's because that's the language that they use in the bill, suspicion. And we know that's pretty much how things, that's how it goes in America. We are profiled. And so, this money is going to be available to help police racially profile more. And it's going to be legal and acceptable because of how this bill was written. So again, we're going to get more speed traps with this prevention, roadside deaths prevention. So another section of the bill talks about recruiting and training nationally certified child passenger technicians among police officers, fire, and other first responders, emergency medical personnel, and other individuals or organizations serving low-income and underserved populations. That basically means poor Black people and underserved Black people are going to get some type of child passenger safety technicians. And that basically is like, I don't know if you remember when they first or before they passed the child safety seat laws, where you have police teaching you how to put your child in the car seat and strap the car seat in, and police could stop you to make sure that your child was in the car seat properly. Well, y'all getting ready to get more of that. So just be prepared. The people who are going to be doing that are going to be police, fire responders, other first responders, emergency medical personnel, et cetera, et cetera. But they're going to be responsible for either doing the trainings, which can be conducted however, and I don't understand why the police have to do this, and this money has to go to police and first responders, but it's another way to make sure that these people have money for programs that are not necessary. And I question it because one, child deaths have increased over the past, few years. Between the ages of 0 and 14, the rates have declined, which means there's no need for 0 to 14 child safety, seats or child safety protection. It's just like a gimmick. And then, other data says death rates for motor vehicle occupants decreased 37% from 1999 through 2019, according to the Centers of Disease Control data. So that means if the rates are down for 20 years, why are you using good taxpayer money for this service? The only reason that you're doing it is because you need to give the police and first responders some money so they can stay gainfully employed and harass the shit out of us, period. So be on the lookout for the child safety seats. If you start seeing those pop back up And you know, the radio stations will be touting them. They're having this with the police at this place. That's what that is all about. That means somebody's getting paid to do that, and their salary is supplemented, or the police department took some money, or your sheriff's department, or whoever, highway patrol. Doesn't matter which entity is doing it, but it's going to be done at the state level. So Section 2 also says they're going to provide funding to educate parents and caregivers in low income and underserved populations regarding the importance of proper use and correct installation of child restraints on every trip in a motor vehicle. Like, we are retarded. Everybody knows that you have to put your seatbelt on now. So we don't need nobody to tell us that, but they're getting money to tell us that. So I just want you to know, again, this is one of those things where they're using the money to, you know, help law enforcement and first responders stay gainfully employed by making up stuff for them to do when data doesn't demonstrate they actually need it. And then, you know, lastly, why focus on us? Like, anybody who has a kid, like, just because you got money doesn't mean you don't need, you know, that type of education. You know, it's almost again, it's disrespectful to say that poor, low income, underserved communities don't know how to care for their kids, but rich people and upper middle class, upper middle income people do. So it also implies that people who are poor are ignorant and don't care about their children and need help, as if they're like some poor lost, you know, possum, instead of just giving it out in general and spreading the service amongst everyone. So again, there's a specific target. You see low income and underserved, that basically means Black people. So they're not giving this service to everybody. It's just us, we special. So just know that. The infrastructure bill also includes funds for databases and technologies tied to policing, which are nice words for more surveillance. And so I know some of the information that was in the bill here. And so I want to just read a little bit so you'll be able to understand why this is significant. So the use of grant amounts. A state may use a grant received under this subsection to make data program improvements to core highway safety databases relating to quantifiable, measurable progress in any significant data program attribute described in paragraph 3B, including through software or applications to identify, collect, and report data to state and local government agencies and enter data into state core highway safety databases, including crash, citations or adjudication, driver, emergency medical services, injury surveillance system, roadway and vehicle data, purchasing equipment to improve a process by which data are identified, collated, and reported to state and local government agencies, including technology for use by law enforcement for real-time electronic reporting of crash data. Improving the compatibility and interoperability of core highway safety databases of the state with national data systems and data systems of other states, including the National EMS Information System. So if you kind of see where I'm going with this, it's just more surveillance. So they got money to create databases and connect systems with systems to do more surveillance. So, you know, it's going to be imperative that you get your life in order if you're a little raggedy. I know some of my people be raggedy. And it's just good to be aware that the Great Reset is taking place and a lot of technology is involved, a lot of automation, you know, doing this real ID and all this information, you know, states are going to be able to share information about you. And you need to understand that this is getting ready to grow on a bigger scale now. Another section of this bill says supporting traffic records improvement training and expenditures for law enforcement, emergency medical, judicial, prosecutorial, and traffic record professionals. Hiring traffic record professionals for the purpose of improving traffic information systems, including the state fatal accident reporting system liaison. So that means they're going to be hiring people to prosecute more cases, and so they'll need to hire people to enter traffic records into databases. So that's how you know they are getting ready to start ticketing the hell out of us in our communities. And because they'll be able to racially profile. So I want you to understand what is happening. They're not going to just be out here all willy-nilly. They have a goal. They're hiring people to have stuff to do, and they're going to give them stuff to do. That stuff to do is you and me. And when I say we are at war, this is what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about a physical war. I'm talking about these are the tools that the system uses to keep us oppressed. And because we don't read, because we don't dig into the bills and stuff like that, then we don't know what is happening. Here I talk about, for me, the most shocking part of the crime bill inside of the infrastructure bill was the hiring of criminal justice personnel. And just like that, the infrastructure bill became a crime bill, and it did. So here I highlight, this is where they start talking about the DUI stuff in the bill. And so in this section where it talks about funds, it says the secretary may not use more than 3% of the amounts available under this subsection to carry out subparagraph. And so they did a little editing, but inserting here where the quotation marks begin. Court support of impaired driving prevention efforts. That means they need help for when they go out and set up these DUI roadblocks to entrap us, basically. So the support will be the hiring of criminal justice professionals, including law enforcement officers, prosecutors, traffic safety resource prosecutors, judges, judicial outreach liaisons, and probation officers. So they're telling you that they're going to arrest you for DUI, and that could be weed or alcohol. And you're going to have contact with police, judges, prosecutors, traffic safety resource prosecutors, judges, probably some type of advocates, and probation and parole. So there's money allocated to hire these people at the state level so that they can make sure that you're in the system. And when you're in the system, you know what that entails. It entails fines, got to pay probation fees. You're probably not going to be able to get a job because jobs are already scarce and things are heading to, to the ways of automation. So you just have to be careful, about this time, because this time isn't really about reorganizing and making sure that Black men in particular stay at the bottom. So one thing I noted here is of concern, Black people have always been arrested more than whites for DUI, despite white people making up the majority of the nation's population. And it's not just because Black people drink more than whites, because that's statistically impossible. The real reason is that the system of white supremacy focuses on Black people to keep the criminal justice system in the business. And so I always say we are this country's life insurance policy, and this is basically what that means. When you see stuff like this in a bill, it's a nice way. It sounds really not offensive, but when you start looking at the data of who's getting arrested now already, this is the data that they're going to use to decide where to focus those efforts. And so when they do that, that means they're coming to Black communities. That means they're going to be looking for Black men in nice cars. It means they're going to be posted up at, out close to Rolling Loud concerts and places where Black people hang out, birthday parties, if they're concerts and things like that, where they can easily catch people who are intoxicated. So when we talk about being on code, being on code is, you see this that I'm teaching you and I'm talking to you about, it means don't do those things so you don't get trapped. So it's one thing to have contact with the police, but when you got a car, make sure your car is in order, make sure you got license, make sure you got car insurance, make sure your car is clean, don't have anything in it, make sure you don't ride with people who ride dirty. You have to change how you think, and you don't have to, but I'm telling you, if you don't, you're going to be involved with the criminal justice system, and that's what they want. So here, I provided data that showed that not only were Black people more likely to be stopped than white Americans, but they were also more likely to be searched, ticketed, and arrested. So, if you're stopped, you're more likely to be searched and ticketed and arrested, which goes back to, what we talk about being on code and doing stuff, that's in order. And also I'm going to talk about the bill had a lot of language in there that basically gives police reasons to hire more police. And again, once they start hiring you and collecting these fines and fees, they're not going to stop. These people will not go anyplace. They will be a permanent, part of your community and harassment, which is part of Great Reset. So this bill is not anything good for us. And, we need to understand that. Lastly, I want to mention before I get off this topic about who's actually benefiting. I talked to you earlier about who would benefit from this bill. So understand that of the criminal justice system, 67% of police officers are white, non-Hispanic, which means the majority of police in America are white. And this is the most common race or ethnicity in police departments, and we see it nationally. But only 12.4% of police are Black, which means that once you get into the numbers, you see we're not really impacted positively, not even in the hiring. When you start looking at how many Black police officers are going to be hired, especially in this, racialized climate we're in, it's still going to be the majority of probably white, Hispanic, and Asian people who will beat the hell out of Black people and keep us, in positions where we're not able to be employed because we have criminal records, keep us poor and broke, and our families, distressed because we're scraping together money in already tight times trying to help our loved ones get out of jail and prison. So it's like imperative that we understand what is happening and not get into the system. And I know it's hard, like it's a whole lot of ignorance among our young population. They think we post-racial and everything fine, smoke, drink, and bop our heads and eat good. Like we are like in a bad way, and we have to really understand that. So, Black people gonna have to start reading, and that's what I closed this piece with. If I didn't read this bill, we would not be having this discussion. I took it upon myself It's not my business. Well, it is my business because I'm a taxpayer and because, you know, I do contract work. So sometimes I have to read legislation because it impacts me, it impacts my work, and impacts how I get paid. And because I write grants and review grants and help people find money and stuff, so I'm vested in this. I need to know, but also I have to know because I need to be able to tell my people what dangers are coming down the pipe. And so this is huge, and nobody's talking about it. We did Black Lives Matter. We protested for George Floyd. Colin Kaepernick came out. We did all this stuff. And in 1 year, Joe Biden and the Democrats came back and gave police more money, just like he said he would. So I want you to keep in mind how disrespectful they are to us, how they continually undermine us. They do not care about our best interest. And so what you have to do if you're Black is you're going to have to start reading. The mainstream media did not tell you this. I told you this. I haven't seen anybody talk about this. You didn't see any of your favorite Black politicians, not the Black Congressional Black Caucus. You didn't see, Maxine Waters. You didn't see Jim Clyburn. You didn't see the squad. Like, nobody had nothing to say about this part of the bill. So I want you to just pay attention to, who has our best interest at heart, who's looking out for Black people. Nobody. Everybody is all for themselves. And so we have to be the same way when it comes to our interest. And right now, the interest of America is to harm and incarcerate our people. So we need to start reading these bills, even at the state level. When they propose something, they put it online. Open it up and read it. Talk about it. Share it online. If it's some shady, shiesty stuff, let people know, because, sometimes, you may sound alarmed about something that we all need to know about. And we can't do everything. We can't read everything. We can't be everywhere. We can't be all things to all people. But some of us are like doing overtime, and other people are just chilling, scrolling, waiting on somebody to report the news. Like, it is enough stuff out here for everybody to do, and everybody needs to really take it upon themselves to understand what is happening. And you cannot afford not to read. The dominant society, they're not hiding nothing. Everything is in plain sight. This bill is public. It's been public the whole time. Nobody will bother to open it up and read it to catch this, so we could have got it taken out. Nobody did. So, it's incumbent upon us to do better as a people, to make sure that we protect our own interests. Like, we can't, this is our future. Our sons, I have sons, so I'm concerned because I don't want my kids, jogging at night and then police jamming them up. They get into some incident and he gets killed because police got more money to patrol. Another thing about this money is, police will say, well, we took inventory and we don't have an issue with DUI, but we like permission to reallocate this money to hire people or buy equipment because this would serve us better. This serves our community better. And they can do that. So just because it says this in this bill, when this money gets to states, they have the discretion to do other things with the money. So, we have to stay on top of what's happening at the state level, because this is where this money is coming. This money is for states to implement criminal justice reforms, so to speak. So, I just want everybody to be aware of what is happening and not be so caught up in current events and just nonsense that we miss the point of what's happening in these bills, because it's a lot of stuff happening and we are not necessarily prepared for it. So read this bill. I'm going to put the information in the bio. I'll put this piece in the bio. Share it with your friends and family. Talk to your loved ones and let them know they are getting ready to start cracking down on Black people that come into Black communities, and they're going to be selling education, DUI checkpoints, child safety, prevention, teaching us how to put us in car seats and fasten our seatbelts and all mannerisms of things so we can have contact with them. So just be cautious and understand that, this is just one aspect of things that are happening in America, but it's something that's going to impact you locally quickly. They're going to get these police, they're going to start patrolling. You're just gonna see things change pretty rapidly because everybody's trying to be prepared for 2024 when they suspect, the actual coup, the rest of the coup to take place. So just be aware of what's happening. Make sure you read more, understand what's happening in your community, in the state. Pay attention to these bills. These bills got crap in them. Lastly, vote all these old coons out of office, because we cannot survive with people who will willfully go against our best interest. In this bill, again, I said earlier, like Black people actually supported it. You got Jim Clyburn, CBC. Four of the representatives that co-sponsored this bill are Black women. Frederica Wilson from Miami, Florida. Like, Miami got like some of the worst police in the country. Like, they just fired a police chief who came from Texas because he said the police department was so bad, the police act like the Cuban mafia, beating up Black people and stuff. And they fired him. He was only on the job for 6 months. So I noted that in my Twitter thread. But it's a shame that these Black representatives will support something like that and not pay attention to what's happening in their own community. This Black woman is allowing Black people to get the hell beat out of them by Hispanic police officers in her own district. And yet she supports a bill like this. And that police department is like the 7th or 8th biggest police department in America. So they're going to get a lot of money to go into Black communities and harass Black residents for no reason. So just be alert of what's going on. Things are happening really fast. They're sneaking stuff in bills and they're not talking to us about it. So, read. That's something I can tell you. Read, pay attention to people who are not mainstream media, pay attention to your Black grassroots organizations, pay attention to new Black media, and try not to focus too much on gossip, because fighting white supremacy is business, just 24/7, 365 job, and we need all hands on deck. So if the very least you can do is read and find out what's happening in your own community so that you can protect yourselves. We can't do everything, but I do know that this money from this infrastructure bill for criminal justice is going to reach every state and every community. So if you have people that you love, you need to educate them on what's getting ready to come down the pipe. And you also need to, get your life together. You be riding dirty, stop riding dirty. If you're out here you know, it just, hanging with the wrong people, or, some of the things that you used to do, like drinking and driving, like you may want to stop that because they've changed all sorts of laws. They have, the police have powers now they didn't have before. And so we don't want to give them any additional reasons to do anything to us. And we don't want to have um, contact that we don't need to have with them, because we understand data proves that when we have contact with the police, when Black people have contact with police, it's usually not good for us. And we know that there is no recourse. We don't get any justice, and there's no punishment for them. So what we need to do is try to stay out of that system. We need to stay out of the police faces, and we need to mind ourselves. And that's part of getting on code. So thank you so much for watching this video, staying all the way through. Don't forget to like the video, share the page, read the description, check the links out for yourself, look at the data, and just be careful. I know the holidays are coming up. I don't know how soon this money is coming out, but if it comes out before Christmas, you best believe you're gonna have extra roadblocks up. So as you are festive, if you celebrate holidays and things, just make sure that you're cognizant of the fact that there's more law enforcement money on the street. There will be more police watching us. And we can't afford to lose any of our soldiers and our good people, because we need everybody we can get to help us fight this, because we are the only ones fighting for us. Nobody else is. So if you're in jail or dead, you can't help fight. And if you've gotten yourself tangled up in your underwear because you were hard-headed, then you also are at a disadvantage, and you disadvantage the collective. So, be one, get on code, read more, understand what is happening. This is not a game. These people are in for us. And this year, y'all, Biden just took office in January. It is November 30th. Imagine what this man is going to do next year and the year after that. We got 3 years to deal with him in this administration. So, keep that in mind, that this is just the beginning. It's not the end. So thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to y'all next time.